Welcome to another watch list video, this time for the week of December 5th, 2022. We've got a bunch of long setups and short setups to go through, so let's get right into it. First one on the list here, we have ACMR. Made a nice move off the lows, about 75%, is now consolidating in a fairly tight range. It's now given time for the 20-day SMA to catch up. There is the 50 that may act as a bit of resistance here. Maybe one more day or two more days of sideways and then breaks out long. Although I can see this one, breaking over the range on Monday as well. And I would take it with a smaller position. But looking pretty good here. Has a lot of room to the 200 SMA. ANF is one I'm watching maybe more as a day trade. It has a nice gap up on earnings last week and is now consolidating, moving sideways in this range. It's over all its major moving averages. Would take it over this resistance line here. ASTE is a slower moving stock. It has a 4.45% ADR, but made a decent move off the lows of about 45% and is now consolidating in a nice range. It's allowed for the 10 and 20 day to catch up to it, building these higher lows. Ideally, this flag just builds out. We get some nice tight days around the resistance area and then a breakout. CTMX is a smaller cap name that moved about 65% off its lows. It's now consolidating. Ideally, it goes sideways for a few more days, maybe 3-4 days, allows time for it to trade above the 10-day SMA and then break out over the range. EPIX is one I just put back on my watch list after this big move up. It got rejected off the 200 SMA, but has now found some support here around this $3.15 mark. Gave time for the 10 and 20 day SMA to catch up, trading above them right now. But ideally, this will go sideways for, maybe 3-4 days before breaking out, or pulls back and, fills out this flag a bit longer. If not, I'd like to see some more tight days and then a breakout. This 200 day SMA might act as resistance again, although it did go to $5 last time. So that would be the first point of contention. So I'd look for it to break out beyond that point. Let's see what's next. EVER is a name I was watching. It made a nice 100% move or so off the lows, allowed for the 10 day to catch up and broke out. However, I did not take it because I want to see more sideways action in this name. Ideally, this pulls back, fills out this flag, gives time for the 20 SMA to catch up to it, finds support on it, and then breaks out. So still has work to do in this stock. Could be a trade for the end of this week or the beginning of next week. Let's see what happens in it. GFI is an interesting name in the gold sector, which is still pretty strong. Recently made a 76% move off its lows, broke over the 200 SMA, has found support on it now, and the 10. It's building these higher lows clearly. All we need is a clear breakout area. I had taken a small trade over this level and got stopped out of it, unfortunately. So I'm just going to watch it here and see if it can build out a clear resistance area that we can buy a breakout from. GHL, another one that follows the same basic principles, and that it's made a big move up, about 84%, and is now moving sideways, consolidating in this range. It has allowed time for the 10 and 20 day SMA to catch up. Ideally, we get this to move sideways a few more days and then break out. You can see it had a false breakdown here, reclaimed back into the range. It is below the 200, which I don't love in these trades. I might take it with smaller size because of that, unless it gives it time to catch up. But yeah, I like to see these stocks above the 200 SMA or have a lot of room to run into the 200. KLXE, an oil and gas name that's pretty strong here. It's made a big move off the lows, 240%. Had a nice breakout here that over the 10 day and is now consolidating again for about 2 weeks now. It's allowed for the 20 to catch up as well as the 10. So we'll see. I can see this one, being able to break out already, although I'd much prefer for this to consolidate a little longer, or at least put in another tight day or two around this top of the range and then break out. MGNX is an interesting smaller cap biotech name, made 130 or so % move off the lows. It is now consolidating. You can see that it found support on the 20 and the 200 very nicely, reclaimed to the top of the resistance area. I see this one going sideways for a while holding the 650 ideally, and putting in tight candles near the top of this range and then breaking out over it. It's a high ADR name, has a lot of room to run It's over the 200 already, so I'll definitely be watching this one for a trade. MMAT, another big move off the lows, 250%-ish in, let's say, a little less than 2 months. It is now consolidating for about 6 days, 7 days. The 10-day has caught up. For me to want to trade this one, the 20 needs to catch up to the price action. It needs to go sideways for a couple more days at least in a fairly tight range like it's doing now, and then break out over the range. It has a lot of room to run as well, maybe to $3, but we'll see. We'll start with this this flag to fill out and then see what happens from there. MOD is a slower moving name with a 4%-ish ADR. However, it has a lot of relative strength compared to the market. Just recently from this base, it's up about 50-60%. It's consolidating here, building these higher lows. Found support on the 20 very nicely. Ideally, this goes sideways for 2, 3, 4 more days. Tests this 2150 level, another tight day, and then breaks out. Of course, it might not be worth it for some traders because of how slow this one moves. What is the high on this one? Around $25. But in terms of the technicals, very nice flag building. TNGX might have broken out for some people on Friday. However, I did not take it yet. I'd like to see this flag fill out a little more. It's still fairly choppy in this range, so I want to see some tightness before taking a breakout. The 10 and 20 have caught up nicely, however, so I can see why some people may have taken it, but just not my setup. TSE, another one that's made a big move off the lows, about 50%. It has room to the 200-day. It's consolidating nicely with these higher lows. It's been about 2 weeks now. So I'd like to see this one fill out just a little more. It's already in quite a tight range, 3% on the last couple of candles, but ideally it puts in 2-3 more days within this range of 2480 and 2412, and then breaks out over the range. We'll see what happens. VIR, another one that's made a big move off the lows, about 50%. I don't love how choppy it's been recently. It kind of broke out, failed, but it found support on the 20-day, which I'd like to see. It's above the 200. Ideally, we get maybe 3 more days of tightness, tight candles, and then breaks above this 2770 area. Ideally gets to $30 in a day or two, and then we'll see what happens. There are some setups to the short side, which are maybe less priority right now that the market is rallying. However, I'll still take one that I think is a 5-star setup. We don't know what the market's going to do from here. We can still, retest the lows. Who knows? Although we're looking better. So first we have COMM building this bear flag below all its major moving averages. You could have taken this one on Friday. I skipped it just because I want to see this flag fill out a little longer, and because the market is strong. So I want to see a perfect setup before I'm shorting. Next we have KAMN. Kind of failing its bear flag right now, and that it's breaking out of it. So for me to want to take this, it needs to break back down, retest the lower ranges, have a few tight days, and then break below the support area. MOS is an interesting setup in that it's breaking a long-standing range. It needs to close like it's doing now below this range, hold it for maybe a few days before I want to short it, just because it can easily reclaim like it's been doing these past few times. But I like this as a short setup because it's from a long range here. PAGS, a super weak stock right now. A little different from a bear flag, but I like it because it's tested this 950 level a few times where it's rallied off of it. If it can't rally again from it and the 10-day catches up to the current price action, builds these lower highs and then breaks below 950, I'd be inclined to short it under 950. PAYO may be a cleaner bear flag setup right now, trading below the 10 and the 200, which it's kind of finding support on right here. If this can fill out a few more days in this tight range and then break below, I'd be inclined to short this one just because, it's still a weak stock. It's a recent IPO. Could make big moves, but if the market remains strong, you might want to avoid shorting it. Plug is an interesting one just because it's still very weak compared to the market. It's kind of building this bear flag out. It's under its major moving averages or just about on it. If the market's strong, this is one I wouldn't short. If it remains weak, I might consider it if it has a few tight days and then breaks under this range. POWW would be more of a flat base breakdown, and that it's finding support around this $2.10 level. The 10-day has caught up. It's kind of finding some support on it. So in an ideal world, this has a few tight days around this level and then breaks under. RCMT is a thinner name that's been kind of bear flagging here, trying to break under this long range that it's found. It's one of those commodity names that made a big move in 2022 and has now been just kind of steadily failing to break out. So yeah, I already have a small position short just because it broke under this range. But for me to get fuller size in it is, hold under this maybe 1460 level, close below it, and I'd like to take a short on it. More of a wild card setup I'm watching this week is SI. It's already made a huge move down, bear flagging at the lows. But for a stock this beaten down and with the recent move Bitcoin made, I know it kind of had not a failed breakdown, but it's kind of reclaiming from its recent bear flag. So this is one that I can see maybe having a false breakdown under this range and then reclaiming. So I'm more inclined to trade it to the long side, actually. It's a little different from my normal setups, but I think there's a decent amount of short sellers in it that, would even add to their positions if it broke under, and then if it reclaims can squeeze them out. I can see this one having a few, like 2 or 3 days where it squeezes like 50% or so. So I'd be willing to take this trade on a break over, let's say, $28.30 ish. So we'll see what happens this week. Thanks for watching the video. If you're enjoying the content, please don't be shy. Drop a like and subscribe. You can check out my website, tradesrs.net, where it has more free information as well as options to get paid mentorship and education. I will put a discount code in the description of this video where you can get maybe 50% off your first month. So thanks for watching.